Test, test. All right, cool. All right, what up, everybody? My name is Lee Douglas. I am the creator of Cool IT. Long story short, I'm a engineer, been in the IT game for about 7 years now, so I think I know what I'm talking about. And I am A plus, Net plus, and Security plus certified. AWS Solutions Architect certified. Done it all. And now I'm working as an HSM engineer. So I pretty much want to just give back, pay it forward, and help out the community, not just with gaming tips, but with actual career advice and just helping y'all learn IT. Because I get a lot of people asking me all the time, like, yo, when you going to teach me IT? When you going to teach me computers? So I'm going to teach you what I know. And in this course, it's not going to be linear all the time, right? I'm going to try to stick to a plan, but this is live. So, what I mean? It's pretty much going to be a conversation between me and myself for a while, and then me and whoever decides to join this stream. So hopefully you get something out of it. And I'm already getting something out of it by working on, speech and just promoting my brand, all that stuff. But really just helping y'all get into IT so you can help me. We do need help in this field. And I'd like to see everybody thrive. So welcome to School IT. Obviously, it's a play on Cool IT. And yeah, that's the goals. So we're going to hop right into it. When I got into IT, the best thing that was for me, right? I didn't go to school for IT. I went through a program called Empower. Shout out to Empower. And they helped me get my A plus certification. The A plus is an entry level certification that'll help you get like help desk jobs, help you get just entry level IT jobs. Trying to think of another one besides like help desk. You could do hardware repair. Basically shows you know how to work with computers and you know how to troubleshoot. But it is an entry level certification, and it is like it's a foundational certification as well. So it's not going to get you the highest paying job, but it will get your foot in the door. And sometimes that's all you need to get your foot in the door. Then you can start networking with people once you get your foot in the door, and you can start making a way for yourself like I did. So again, I didn't go to school for it. I just got the certifications and worked my way up through networking, constantly being on LinkedIn, just letting people know what I'm doing. So I mean, I'll be at practice. I'll be at jujitsu practice or something, and somebody will just come up to me and be like, "Hey, man, I see you work with computers, or you're into gaming, and I just wanted to make a channel for that community, for those people who have those questions outside of class, or might just see me out like, yo, here you are. You can have it all in one spot." But because there's not too many people joining right now, catch my breath. Because there's not too many people joining right now, we just gonna get into Security Plus, which is probably I would do this last out of the three foundational certs that CompTIA offers. So CompTIA offers the A plus, the Network plus, and the Security plus. Each one has different information on it that you need to test against and get certified in. So, for example, A plus may be more how do entry level IT questions, troubleshooting like, hey, what's this port number? What's this or that? Whereas Network plus is going to actually test your networking skills. So, do you know what this IP address does or what it means? Do you know what DNS means? You know, could you connect these two devices if we gave you this simulation? Those kind of things you might see on the Network plus. And then with the Security plus is how do you secure all of this information and all of the different routes and different attack vectors that you would experience when you get into the cybersecurity field. So, like me, I'm a PKI engineer or HSM engineer. So I work with encryption, which secures all of the information. It basically scrambles the data so that only certain people with a key can read it. So I work with those devices at a high level. So I've seen like pretty much the private sector, the federal sector, all of the different sectors of the work environments I've seen in IT. You know, I've done some web development. I programmed antennas point to point on water towers. I've actually like climbed the water tower and put antennas together. Desktop hardware, phone repair, phone management. So putting in the mobile device management systems on phones, camera systems, anything you can think of in IT, I've pretty much done in my 7 years. So I think I have a unique experience on top of the fact that I got into IT because I'm just a gamer, right? If you notice, the channel is mostly about gaming. So I'm just a gamer that figured his way out into the IT world. And they're so closely related, right? Because if you can put a gaming computer together, you can put a desktop computer together, you can make a living for yourself. So why not bridge that gap? You know what I mean? And make some money for the people that watch my channel and they want to play the PS5 Pro. Now you get your money, you know, you get your IT career going and you can come back and thank me. We got you. And there it is, the slogan. We got you. All right. So enough about that. We're going to hop into the Security Plus. So what is the CompTIA Security Plus? Again, we're going to read it right from the site. CompTIA Security Plus is the premier global certification that establishes the essential skills required for core security functions and a career in IT security. It showcases professionals' capabilities in securing networks, applications, and devices, ensuring data integrity, confidentiality, and availability. CompTIA Security Plus focuses on practical hands-on skills to tackle real-world challenges. As the most widely recognized credential, it is invaluable for advancing in the dynamic field of cybersecurity. That's a lot. I'm gonna have to get some water on that one. But basically, CompTIA is the most well-known certification provider in IT, right? There's also CCNA, which is well-known. AWS also has their own certification line. But if you're trying to get into IT, I think the easiest route, path of least resistance is going to be getting your CompTIA certifications. And they know that. That's why they put that right there in that paragraph, right? When you get a CompTIA Security Plus, it's so widely recognized that you could work for Department of Defense or Department of War now. You could get jobs in those fields now, right? You're qualified at least on that end. You may still have to go through security clearance processes and all that other stuff, but at least the Security Plus is needed to work in most of these environments, right? There are some exceptions, but for the most part, if you want to work in IT security, you're going to need this certification. And for the people that's chasing the big bucks, this is what you're going to need. You want that 80,000 plus salary, 80K salary range or higher. I mean, it was 80K when I started. It's probably way higher than when I started. But yeah, that's where you'll pretty much start, is around where I started, is 80K. So, where was I? Yeah, you're gonna need the certification. To get this certification, you got different exam objectives that you need to look at, right? So you have general security concepts, which includes security controls, fundamental concepts like summarizing confidentiality, integrity, availability, also known as the CIA Triad. So that's the main objective when you're securing a IT environment, is CIA. You want to make sure that the information is confidential. It's between me and you. You want to make sure that that message didn't get changed. So if I tell you a message, it should only be between me and you, which is confidentiality. And then I want integrity, which means that if I sent you a message, it should come exactly as intended. Nobody should have messed with it at all. It should say exactly what I intended it to say. And then availability. That's where the networking piece comes into play, right? So if the information is not available, it's useless, right? So networking is a big part of securing IT environments. So really, if I wanted to start in IT security, I would actually go down the networking route. Like, how am I connecting to all these devices that I want to get information from? Because that's the ultimate goal in IT, right? Is that you want to have access to information. If you look at any organization, right, all they're doing is collecting information or creating information and then securing that information. And then they also have to sometimes transmit that information to other people, right? So it doesn't always just sit on a hard drive somewhere. Sometimes it has to actually go in transit through the network to get to the other person. And there's complex protocols that you have to follow to get that information to the right place, to the right person. And IT security and networking covers that. So let's say you wanted to skip the low-level jobs, right? The entry-level jobs. I won't say low-level, but entry-level. I would start with networking. I would go down the route of either getting Network Plus and CCNA, and then Security Plus, because then you'll have a strong foundation of how to connect to devices. And then Security Plus will actually just come and solidify some of those ideas about how you secure them. That's just me. You can take whatever route. I took a different route myself. This is just me going back and thinking like, okay, I could have probably skipped A+. But Net Plus and Security Plus actually worked for me. It actually made sense to me in the field once I actually started touching those devices. But I wouldn't knock anybody for going for the A+ first. I think that's also a wise choice to build your confidence up, because that exam's not really that hard. It's more of a what you know than how to apply it. But again, all of them are useful. I think Security Plus, most useful. A+, very useful, but less useful than Net Plus and Security Plus. Moving on. So each exam is going to have different objectives, right? So you're getting the gist of it. So with Security Plus, it's general security concepts, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations, security architecture, security operations, and then security program management and oversight. So my fiance actually just passed her exam just following the exact same steps, right? Like, she went through our IT resource guide. So if you look up here, I have created, or we have both curated, an IT security guide or resource guide for breaking into IT with all of that information that I just talked about, right? So these are some of the resources that we use to get that done. We had, number one is Professor Messer. Shout out to Professor Messer. He does pretty much what I'm doing, except more organized, and he's been doing it longer. But he, gives out free information on the CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus exams. So, he gives you all of his notes. They're pretty much straightforward. He doesn't really get off track too much either. So if you're focused and you need something to, just run by line, and sometimes even go to sleep too. I would literally put Professor Messer on when I was studying in my sleep and just listen to it, and then wake up trying to have that idea in mind. And it worked for me. You know what I mean? I lost a little bit of sleep, but it worked for me. Then we have Udemy, which is also very helpful. So on Udemy, you can get all different kinds of courses, not just A+, Net Plus. You can get AWS, you can get Just check out Udemy. I ain't gonna go too far into it, but it's got all kinds of different skill sets that you can learn online. Test Out is designed specifically for information technology. So they have courses with simulations that teach you the information that's on these A+, Net+, and Security Plus exams. And then you also get the simulations that are really, really close to what you would see on the actual exam. So I don't know if they're partnered together with CompTIA or something, but they do a really good job of getting you ready. It is a little bit pricey for $90 a month. You can try and get the job done in a free trial. What I would do if I really didn't have the money or didn't have any resources that I could get student access from is I would try to train up as much as I could on free resources and then sign up for this free trial. You try to get the money, but then use it as much as possible in that 7 days to get the simulations down. That's just what I would do, right? Pro tip. And then there's Empower, the program that I came from. I don't know how much. I know that they're still running right now. I don't know if these are the hours anymore, but I can send you information if you're in the chat and you want to know like what Empower is. I can try and get you connected with somebody. And then there's also BCR Cyber. There's all different kinds of like programs like Year Up, BCR Cyber, Empower. All these different boot camps that will give you free training in IT because it's needed and people are paying. So if you really want to make some money, you're a gamer and you might be lost out there trying to figure out what to do with your life, get into IT. Right? If you're good with computers, you know how to work a process, you understand the concept of a processor, you understand the concept of hacking, how to secure yourself online, you can get in IT. You can do it. You don't need a degree. All right? That was my pep talk. So let's try to get some studying done in the last half of this, and then we can, go for break and come back to gaming and get back to my gaming life. All right? Because this is the boring side of what I do, but it's also fun when you start making money and you start solving problems. I really like solving problems, all right? Like, that's why I play games, because I'm solving multiple problems at once. Like, it's really dynamic. I'm not just sitting there waiting for a call from a customer. I can actually engage my brain on the screen. So, quick story about me before we get back into this studying. I actually dropped out of school twice. Once as an electrical engineering student, and then second as an audio engineering student. And it's not because my grades were bad. I actually did really well, made the dean's list, all of that. But I just didn't think that I was going to be able to pay for college in the long run. Even with scholarships and financial aid, still was going to be too much. And looking back, I'm glad I did that. Not advocating that other people drop out, but that's what worked for me. And I just want people to know that you can get an IT without going the college route. You can make a way for yourself. All right, because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but college is really expensive. So I found my way by screwing up my computer so many times that I figured I need to learn computers. Then I watched a show called Mr. Robot. Really inspired my mind to try and figure out what hacking even is, what it means, all that stuff. And now I work in PKI. Amazing. I was broke when I first started IT. Like, I was broke. Before I got my first IT job, I worked a bunch of odd jobs. None of them really would have amounted to what I got out of IT. None of them. They all got me ready in a strange and weird way, but IT is where it's at for me. Now, Security Plus. The first section of Security Plus is general security concepts. So we're going to be talking about things like compare and contrast various types of security controls, the categories that those security controls fall into. So you have technical controls, you have managerial controls, you have operational, physical, you have control types, which are preventative, deterrent, detective, corrective, compensating, and directive. So again, this is just how I study. always guarantee I'm gonna have the answer right away. I did pass this already, so it's been a while, and I have to go back and actually read up on this myself. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come over here live and I'll just Google it. Like, it's really all you're doing in IT, man. Like, you just Google stuff like anybody else and you try to figure stuff out as you write it down. So as an example, if I use pen and paper, right? Still use that to jot everything down. I think it's better for muscle memory. I'll say my title is CompTIA Security Plus. Then I'll write down what is a technical control, right? And then I literally look at it and I see technical controls are security measures implemented using technology to reduce vulnerabilities and protect systems and data from threats. So that's a lot, right? And that's probably why it's so hard for people to remember, because it's a lot. So what I'll say is I'll look at it again, security measures implemented using technology. So it's basically when you use technology to protect your information. Long story short, that is what technical controls are like. You're using, for example, you're using firewalls, you're using antivirus software, so you might have semantic endpoint encryption on your laptop. You know, a lot of people get work laptops. So when they're putting a VPN on your laptop, a virtual private network, to secure your information in transit, they may use encryption devices or devices with encryption objects on them, like your you might get a security card or digital ID, right? All these different things work together as technical controls to secure your environment. So then I also make sure, even though I don't like their definition, I still write it down. So I'll say it again. It'll say security measures implemented using technology to reduce vulnerabilities. And the slower you say it to yourself, the easier it sticks, right? Because the thing about exams, guys, and this might just be me, is that they're really just testing to see if the information is there on your brain. They're not actually trying to see if you can actually put all this stuff together and, you know, make a career out of it. That's not their goal. Their goal is literally to just test you on this information. So you kind of just have to zone out and drill it into your brain over and over repetitively until it's there. That's the only way. There is no real way to cheat this process. And it is a slow process for certain people, right? And that's not calling you slow. It's just that you may have a roundabout way of studying, right? So one thing I do is that I'll write this stuff down, and then I'll go and take a walk. I'll come back, and it'll stick better. So even when I'm solving a problem, even when I'm troubleshooting, I'll walk away. If I'll give it like 15 minutes, then if I can't get a breakthrough, I'll just walk away, and I'll let my brain play with the idea in the background while I'm doing something else, like enjoying life, enjoying nature. Come back, and I have an answer. It works every time. So don't be hard on yourself throughout this process. Like me, I will get distracted throughout this live stream, and you might be like, yo, what is he talking about? Just hop in the chat, bring me back if I get off on a tangent. But again, like I said, I'm going to try and stay on until 1:30, right? I'm going to try and give this an hour a week every week. And we're just going to have fun studying IT together. But again, technical controls are security measures implemented using technology to reduce vulnerabilities and protect systems and data from threats. So when you have data, you're going to have people that need to access it, and you're going to have people that just want to access it, like hackers, right? They don't actually need that data other than to scam you or, you know, get money out of you. So all of these different things are to protect you from threats, right? Like, why you might get frustrated with your IT company or your IT provider and be like, yo, why do you have all of these, multiple login credentials that I need? And they're just trying to do their job, because hackers are really tricky and crafty, right? Like, they'll find ways around this every so often. Every time you come out with a new security device, somebody's finding a way to break it. That's why this information has to be updated every so often. So, these exams only last for about 3 years until you have to recertify or get a career that shows that you're continually learning this stuff. Because if you're not, you're going to be behind. And if you're behind, you're insecure. That's just how it works in the IT field. So that's kind of why I think that degrees are useful, but not as useful as the certification. Because once you have the degree, you have the degree. You can decide if you want to go back and get your master's, but these are required every 3 years to either have continuing education credits or you just take the exam again. And I think you would rather just want to get the credits. So, where was I? Again, I'm going to say this again. Security measures, technical controls are security measures implemented using technology to reduce vulnerabilities and protect systems and data from threats. All right, so now we can move on. Now we have managerial. So let's look it up. And the reason I'm using Google like this specifically is because CompTIA has a certain way that they structure their questions. And you'll learn that as we go on. Like, CompTIA has a specific way that they want you to answer questions, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to define things based on their standards. All right? So, a managerial control. According to CompTIA Security Plus, managerial controls are administrative security controls that focus on risk management and are implemented through policies, procedures, and strategy. Some examples include risk assessments, security policies, and training programs, which set the standards and framework for other controls. So when I think of managerial controls, I think of those courses that my job sends me that are basically cybersecurity training or cybersecurity awareness courses, right? Those are managerial controls. They set the standard and framework for other controls. So they telling you basically why you need all of these other technical controls, right? They're telling you what to look out for when somebody sends you a malicious or suspicious email. So that's what the managerial controls are there for. And then you also have things like compliance standards, right? So in the PKI or HSM world, you have certain standards like FIPS, Federal Information Processing Standards. So there's certain algorithms and there's basically certain algorithms that you need to be using if you want to be doing things the way the government says. Otherwise, you're insecure. So for example, we may have used a certain amount of math to scramble data in a certain way, right? Now let's just say, for example, this is AES. We're just going to call that AES, right? Advanced Encryption Standards. Not saying this is actually deprecated, but just an example. I may favor RSA now, whereas I used to just do AES, right? Well, now that means AES would be deprecated. And deprecated basically means it's no longer the standard. It's out of compliance. And if it's out of compliance and you're still using it, you basically have a vulnerability in your network now. I really hope that made sense. I'm going to try and revisit that. But basically, it's all about staying in compliance so that your information doesn't become at risk of getting hacked or just getting leaked, right? Because not having information is one thing, but information being in the wrong hands is a completely different issue. And you don't want to have that problem. So you might want to listen to your IT company if you want to keep your job. All right? So those are managerial controls. Now, if we move on to operational, let's look that up. what are operational controls according to CompTIA Security Plus? So according to CompTIA Security Plus, operational controls are security safeguards that are implemented by people and include day-to-day procedures and plans for security operations. Examples include incident response, disaster recovery, training programs, and the work of security guards. So, let's say you have a fire at work, right? You need to know exactly which door to go out of and which steps to go down before a fire happens so that you're not getting stuck and getting burned alive, right? When you have people executing these controls, these are called operational controls. So another thing would be security guards. Let's say you want to get into a company. Let's just say this company was Lumen, for example. We just call this company Lumen. If you wanted to get in Lumen, you couldn't get into Lumen without a ID badge. And once they checked it, they'd either see like, hey, one, this is an official badge, let them in, or this isn't a real badge and get them the hell out of here, right? Like that's a example of an operational control. Then you also have those the awareness programs I talked about. So this is where it gets tricky, and I might have to correct myself, but if you look back at managerial controls, sounds like the same thing, right? Procedures and strategy. Then you go to operational controls, and you see procedures and security operations. So you got to be really specific and think about these different kinds of programs when you're talking about which controls they are, because managerial and operational sound alike, but they're somewhat different. So they even have the comparison right here, right? So managerial controls, these are high-level administrative controls documented in policies and more strategic in nature, including risk assessments and acceptable use policies. Okay, so they are slightly different. You have those managerial controls, so like acceptable use policies that you have to agree to, but then you have those actual, courses and day-to-day training or awareness programs that would be a operational control. And then again, that's different from a technical control because a technical control is something you actually have to configure, like a firewall, like software and firmware upgrades, like HSMs, for example. HSMs that I work with, they protect private keys and digital encryption keys that you use to stay secure on the internet. So, yeah, just make sure that you, as you go through this course, you are doubling back, making sure we said everything correctly, and then that you have a good understanding of this. Because remember, this is just a study session, and I'm going to remember it my way. You're going to remember it your way. But just come back to these points and make sure that you understand everything. Because until I make a book, it's all just word of mouth. All right, so then you have physical controls. And physical controls are going to sound like operational controls when you break it down. So physical controls are measures that protect an organization's assets from physical access and threats in the real world. So again, it overlaps now. You have security guards as a physical control, but then you just said operational control was a security guard. All right, so those are things that you got to pay attention to, guys. Some of these things can fall under more than one category. And that's something the books aren't going to tell you. That's something CompTIA is not going to tell you. But yeah, don't forget to get your pen and paper out and write this stuff down too. I remember it already for myself. Like I said, I already been certified. But make sure that you're writing this stuff down multiple times and locking it in in a way that you understand it. Okay, because physical controls can be fencing, locks, barricades, access control vestibules. So you ever been going through the airport and you get surrounded by like two security guards and they're like scanning you? So that's a physical control. Then you have detective controls. So under physical controls, there's different types of physical controls. So you have preventative. like we just mentioned, which is security guards. They'll prevent you from getting to the next level of access. Then you have detectives, so things that are trying to find you, right? So like cameras, lights, fire alarms, motion sensor cameras. So, for example, a motion sensor. So like I have an AI camera, like think camera 1 is my AI camera. So as I move around, it would like try and follow me. Maybe it's not. Oh yeah. Well, camera 2 is actually the camera. So if you see it, it's moving slightly without me touching it. So that would be an example. Then we have corrective controls. So fire suppression systems, security guard response to an alarm. So when an issue happens, you need something that hurries up and corrects it or mitigates it. Right? That's another word for correction, mitigate. So if I see a fire and I'm a security guard, I should be responding to it as well as the fire suppression system. We should be working together as corrective controls to limit the damage to our environment. So then you have directive controls. So these are controls that direct behavior to ensure compliance. So warning signs, security policies. So imagine you're driving and you see a stop sign. That would be a directive control. You see a red light. That's a directive control. It controls your direction. Yeah, you going down the wrong road. It says wrong way. That's a directive control. So think of that when you think directive. Then you have deterrent controls, right? So these could be the presence of visible security measures, right? So you have a detective control, you have a preventative control, and then you have a deterrent, which is a combination of these things, right? So imagine you're a bank robber and you walk into the bank and you see a camera, but you didn't plan for a camera, right? You're like, damn, I gotta rethink this. So it's gonna deter you from wanting to rob that bank. But if you walk into that same bank and they don't have any security guard, they don't have any protection, you can just pretty much pull a gun out and take it. Uh, that's an insecure environment. I don't know why they would even be a bank, to be honest with you, but people are silly. But yeah, if you need those kinds of things in place to deter people from coming. Maybe you even have a sign that just says, "Warning: dog is in the backyard" or something like that. Might bite you. That'll deter your ass from jumping into that yard. So yeah, deterrent. Compensating. Then you have compensational controls. So these controls are used when other controls are not feasible and provide an equivalent level of security. So it's hard to say that it'll necessarily provide an equivalent level of security, but it is trying to make up for some of that loss. So let's say you can't afford automated door locks, but you can get a security guard. Well, let's say that security guard calls out. That's double the money. You should have just paid for the automated door lock. But if you can't, I guess paying somebody to may or may not show up is more feasible. But hey, you basically put one security control in place when another one isn't available or feasible. So those are the types of physical security controls that CompTIA is going to quiz you on. All right. Those are the categories. We just went over that. So in that short amount of time, we already covered section 1.1 of the CompTIA security concepts. We're going to have to go over 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So I'm going to try and get all of chapter 1 done this month and maybe this week. Within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some of this done, right? So I am going to try and stream whenever I get a chance. I will try to set these for Wednesday at 12:30, but I don't know how long I'll actually be streaming, and I don't know when I'm going to have it all done. But as I do it, I'll go back and try to chop my videos up for you guys so that we have it in a more linear presentation for you, if that makes sense. And hopefully y'all really get something out of this, man. Like, I'm dropping gems. I think I'm dropping gems. Hopefully somebody pick it up. But yeah, that's section 1.1, and that was fun. I think we should just run through it one more time so that I have more footage and more to drop off for you guys. And I'll try to give you better examples as we go along. So what did we start with? We started with categories. So section 1.1, compare and contrast various. Section 1.1, compare and contrast various types of security controls. The categories are technical, managerial, operational, and physical. All right. So again, we looked up what is a technical control. So, according to CompTIA Security Plus, technical controls are security measures that use technology to reduce vulnerabilities and protect information systems. So, they gave examples like firewalls, antivirus software, encryption, intrusion detection systems, and access control. Technical controls can be further categorized as preventative, detective, or corrective. So some of these controls, again, guys, are going to overlap and they're going to be under certain categories. So one thing may sound like another thing. It may sound redundant. Just try to follow along as best as you can. All right, then we have the category of managerial controls. Let's talk about managerial one more time. So, what are managerial controls according to CompTIA Security Plus? According to CompTIA Security Plus, managerial controls are administrative policies, procedures, and guidelines that focus on managing risk and creating a security aware culture. They are documented in security policies and include things like risk assessments, security training and awareness programs, and contingency planning. Examples include creating an acceptable use policy or password policy. So, guys, when you think of a managerial control, think about when your company is asking you to use two-factor authentication. That's a new policy that they're putting in place. That would be a managerial control, something that management is expecting you to do. Also, acceptable use policy. What can we use in our environment and what can we not? What can we do here? This is a policy. Any policy you think of a manager. Managers give you policies. All right, then we have our operational controls. What are operational controls? Oh, damn. Let me try that again. Oh, I'm missing the P. There we go. What are operational controls according to CompTIA Security Plus? According to CompTIA Security Plus, operational controls are the day-to-day security activities and procedures carried out by people to implement and enforce security policies. Examples include security guards, user training, incident response procedures, and security awareness programs. They focus on the people and processes that directly manage security in a regular, ongoing manner. So, operational controls. So, think of when your IT company is now giving you cybersecurity awareness training, which I know most companies do. Or maybe they're giving you sexual harassment training. Maybe they're giving you, they also provide security guards in this example. So maybe you have a security guard that gives you building security awareness, things like that. Those are operational. And again, they're going to overlap. They're going to sound like managerial controls, But this is more training than it is policy. So when you think of operational controls, I think of the training. When I think of the managerial controls, I think of the actual policies. But see, then they get you because it says, for instance, creating a training policy is a managerial control, but attending or teaching the training is an operational control. Okay, all right, cool. So see, this is why I Google it so that I get a different perspective, right? Because operational and managerial are going to sound alike. So, pro tip: double check your sources. And then we're gonna go over physical controls one more time. So, what are physical controls? According to CompTIA Security Plus framework, physical controls are tangible measures that prevent, detect, or deter unauthorized physical access to an organization's facilities, systems, and assets. These controls include physical barriers like fences, locks, and guards, as well as technical safeguards like surveillance cameras, access control cards, biometric systems, and alarms. So all of those things, guys, anything that you can touch, anything that you can pretty much see that would deter you from getting into a network if you're a bad actor, all of those things would be physical controls. All right. So if you walk again, I gave the bank robber analogy. If I walk in and I see a surveillance camera, that I see a physical control. If I see a security guard, I see a physical control. If I'm required to put a common access card up for as my credential, security, that's a physical security control. All right. So those are the categories. Then we have the control types. So what are preventative controls? Things that prevent you from getting into a network if you are a bad actor. So what are preventative controls? Is it preventative? It's just preventive. All right. So preventive controls are security measures designed to stop security incidents from occurring in the first place. So we want to prevent anything that could happen from happening, right? Because we know that anything that can happen probably will happen. Examples include implementing firewalls, antivirus, and anti-malware software, user access control, system hardening, system awareness training, and physical barriers like fences or security guards. So when you use a firewall is basically a security device that filters traffic through that device. So think of a wall of fire. And to get through that wall of fire, I have to let certain parts of that wall open to get through. Otherwise, it'll get burned up alive by that firewall. So that's an extreme way to think about it. But when I program this firewall, I'm securing my network from anybody that might be trying to harm me. Right? They don't know which ports and stuff to go through unless I allow it. Um, you have intrusion prevention systems that actively block malicious traffic before it can enter the network. So a firewall can be an IPS at the same time, right? So it can do all of that. You have some systems that do intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, and then also act as a firewall. So if I'm blocking anything, I'm an intrusion prevention system, stopping people from getting into my network. And then antivirus can detect and prevent malware from running. So maybe somebody screwed up and clicked on an email they weren't supposed to, but we have it. We have that certain virus listed in our anti-malware list. It'll go and destroy that virus, take care of it, do what you got to do. So think of it as like taking an antibiotic when you get a real virus. Then you have encryption. So encryption is when you actually scramble the data in a way that you need a key, right? So when we talk about digital encryption keys, we're talking about these keys that are needed to unlock that data. So let's think of it this way. Let's say I had a message that goes to my friend Todd, right? When I send a message to Todd, I use a thing called a public key to scramble that data in a way that only Todd can read it. So Todd actually sent me the message first, right? So Todd sent me the message and told me to read it. And he knew it was me because I exchanged my key with him, and I exchanged my public key with him, and he basically verified it was me by my public key. And only these keys that me and Todd have can be used to have this conversation in that kind of way, right? We're gonna get more into encryption because it is a kind of a difficult concept to get, but it can be kind of simple too. So just think of it as like it's a certain code that only certain people can access if they have the key to the code. Boom. Then you have access controls. So, if you have administrative access to certain files, and then you have read-only rights to certain files, those are examples of access controls. So it limits the access to resources to only authorized users. So let's say I have a folder that's for my engineering department, and then I have a folder that's for my finance department. If I'm from the engineering department, I don't need to know what's in the finance folder, so I need access controls to limit that. And if I'm on the finance team, I have no business in the engineering folder, so I need to limit those resources using access controls. All right. And we actually made it 52 minutes for our first stream of School IT. So I'm gonna do a hats off to me, and I'm gonna probably stop there because I'm thirsty as hell. But it's been fun, and if you want to reach out to us, feel free to go to our website, thecoolitguys.com. Show y'all my website. Still working on it, but you can just come down. You can see some of our gaming videos. You can see when we went live last. And then you can drop us a line. You can hit us up on any of these social media platforms. Check out our gaming footage and also ask us IT career questions. I'll be trying to do these videos once a week, every Wednesday at 12:30. Don't be late. Unless I am. We got you. Peace.